Alexander Volkov versus Tom Aspinall takes place this weekend in the main event of UFC Fight Night Vegas 51, Volkov versus Aspinall, and I can't wait. First of all, for the UFC to return to London, and second of all, for this heavyweight main event, number 6 in the world Alexander Volkov versus number 11 in the world Tom Aspinall. We see this story played out so many times, the surging contender, 4-0 in the UFC so far, all by finish for Tom Aspinall versus the veteran of Alexander Volkov, who's been around at the top of the heavyweight division for the past 5 years. I would even maybe say 6 or 7 years. He's beaten Fabricio Verdum. He's beaten some really big names in the heavyweight division, and he's also lost to some big names in the heavyweight division. But even in those losses, he's looked really, really good. Like against Derek Lewis and also against Cyril Gane. Against Derek Lewis, he was winning the entire fight before getting caught in the very last seconds of the bout. Against also Cyril Gane, he had a really good performance over the 5 rounds in a technical striking battle where he held his own, won a certain round, and also lost some very close rounds as well. But Alexander Volkov does not get destroyed by opponents, like, in any way whatsoever. So if Tom Aspinall goes out there and finishes off Alexander Volkov in the first round, it's going to be a very, very impressive performance. And it's going to say a lot about just where Tom Aspinall stacks up in the heavyweight division. And you can only argue that if Tom Aspinall does win, he's most likely going to do it in devastating fashion, because all of his wins in the UFC so far have come by way of finish. Only one of them's gone into the second round against Andrei Arlovski, where he got a submission win over him. He's got first round finishes over Sergey Spivak, Alan Badeau, Jake Collier, and also, when you read those names of Sergey Spivak, Jake Collier, and Alan Badeau, when he first fought these opponents, I didn't really consider them to be great wins. Even the one over Andrei Arlovski, I was thinking, you know what? He's passed the test of Andrei Arlovski. But, you know, it's Andrei Arlovski. This might be the end of his career. I don't know how much he's got left in the tank. But then all of these opponents that he's taken on have done really good since losing to him. And it makes him look even better. Like, every single time I see one of his former opponents get a win, I'm like, man, how good is Tom Aspinall? I know they were saying that after Sergey Spivak beat Greg Hardy. I think Michael Bisping was saying that quite a bit on the BT Sports show. They were talking about how good Tom Aspinall looks because Sergey Spivak recently bounced back against Greg Hardy and got a great win there. He's also beaten Alexei Olenek. Like, Sergey Spivak is no joke. And Tom Aspinall made him look like a joke. Made him look like a joke and destroyed him. I know he took that fight on short notice against Tom Aspinall, but he also took the Greg Hardy fight on short notice as well, so, like, it's the same Sergey Spivak in that sense. And he looked amazing against other contenders. And then you've got guys like Jake Collier, who I thought was just some fat mess that they've dragged up out of nowhere to take on Tom Aspinall and make him look really good in his debut and get him a free win. And Jake Collier's looking good now. Just got a big win in his last fight against Chase Sherman, I believe. Really good head movement, dipping on the inside, landing good combinations over the top. I mean, Jake Collier has shown some real improvements in his game and shown that he isn't just some random guy that they brought in to lose to Tom Aspinall in his debut. Alan Badeau had a good performance in his last fight against Parker Porter as well. Although he lost that fight, it was a very good performance, and it showed that he wasn't just some random guy that gets destroyed by everyone. Andrei Arlovski, as I just mentioned, I thought he was coming to the end of his career. Now he's on a win streak again against other heavyweight contenders, and again we get proven as to how good Tom Aspinall is to just be completely destroying these people. The one thing I like about the Andrei Arlovski win that he got was that he went for a KO early, and you can KO Arlovski early on. Like, you land the right shot, you can KO Arlovski. His chin's not the best in the world, we all know this, but he didn't KO Arlovski. He went into somewhat deep waters with Arlovski and just blast double-legged him. I mean, it was more like a front-on crash tackle from rugby. Just fucking drove him into the fucking cage and finished him off by rear naked choke immediately in the second round. And to me, that was arguably more impressive than just catching Arlovski in the chin in the first round, because a lot of people have done that so far in their career. But we move on to Alexander Volkov. Very dangerous test, the longest opponent that Tom Aspinall's ever going to have taken on, and that can be a little bit of a adjustment for him early on, especially in the big main event in London, in his home country, in the capital of his home country. The crowd's going to be cheering for him. This is the first time Tom Aspinall has fought in front of a big crowd as well, because of the current circumstances of the world. He came in during, like, the Rona syndrome era, trying not to say the keywords that are going to get this video demonetized, but he came into the UFC in the Rona syndrome era, and he had really good performances, but to no crowd whatsoever, and now it's his first time in front of a big crowd, so there's a lot of things to sort of, like, analyze here as to how Tom Aspinall could lose, in terms of maybe he's not ready for a big main event, maybe he's not ready for a big jump up in Alexander Volkov and all of this stuff. But I think he is ready. And I think he's going to go out there, tune up Alexander Volkov in the first round, and piece him up and finish him off in round one with a straight 1-2 combo, right down the pipe, right on the chin of Alexander Volkov. The reach is pretty similar between the pair of them, even though Alexander Volkov's way taller. Alexander Volkov might use that reach a little bit better because Tom Aspinall likes to do some inside work with his fast hands, which are ridiculously fast, by the way, but still, I feel like Tom Aspinall's going to tune him up. I've watched Alexander Volkov's last fight against Marcin Tybura. I know Marcin Tybura has a takedown threat, but also, whilst that fight was on the feet, I didn't like the performance from Alexander Volkov. He seemed extremely slow. And there was a time where I thought of Alexander Volkov as some kind of god, because I watched him against Alistair Overeem. But Overeem's time had come. You know what I mean? Like, he was just shelling up against a cage, and Volkov was dismantling him. And I thought, oh my god, this is the new version of Volkov with one-punch KO power. And it turns out, not really. It's just Volkov, but Overeem's kind of done at this point in his career. But still, I think Aspinall gets this one done. Volkov can be tricky. He can poke at the legs, poke at the body with that front kick that he really has a nice one of. A snapping front kick straight to the solar plexus. He's folded a couple of people with that in his career. Most notably Walt Harris, who he finished with that technique not too long ago. So we're really going to tell how good Aspinall is, but I think he moves very well on his feet. He's very bouncy. And I think it's just going to be a massive speed difference here. And Volkov's going to go for an exchange. And Aspinall's just going to plant a 1-2 right down the pipe on his chin and finish him at some point in the first round. I do expect him to get hit on the chin a couple of times here by Volkov. Maybe Volkov lands a couple of leg kicks. Aspinall lands a couple of leg kicks back on him. Volkov lands a front kick. Aspinall sort of parries it away. Volkov goes for a combo. Back, back. Down he goes. Finished off. Tom Aspinall gets the win. And we're off to the races with Tom Aspinall's career, as he now has to take on all of the top contenders. He's been saying this whole time he wants to take it slow, but he keeps finishing people immediately in the first round. So, you know, have fun taking it slow. I do want to mention this, though. I would favour Alexander Volkov as this fight goes on. But people forget, man, this was a short notice bout for Alexander Volkov. Tom Aspinall knew he was fighting at UFC London, I want to say as soon as the new year started, and he was supposed to fight Shamil Abdurakhimov. In fact, it might have been back in November that he signed a fight with Shamil Abdurakhimov, and only recently Shamil got signed against Sergey Pavlovich, and Volkov came in, I believe, 5 weeks ago or something like that. So it's not like an instance where Volkov's got all the preparation in the world, especially what's going on in the world right now. I mean, I'm sure there's hardly perfect training circumstances in the middle of what's going on in Eastern Europe right now. But either way, I am going to go with Tom Aspinall here. I do worry that maybe the crowd will get to him and the moment might get to him because he is from the UK, and people in the West right now and in the UK in general, they don't seem to have that reptilian mindset to just switch off all emotion that maybe a Russian guy naturally would. So maybe he will get that coming to him. Like, they seem to care a lot more about social media and like the repercussions of losing and stuff like that more than people around the other parts of the world. So if there is going to be someone who might choke in this circumstance, it could be the inexperienced Aspinall, who hasn't fought in front of a big crowd yet. However, he has had a bit of a spotlight on him from the start of his career because of being friends with Darren Till and training with Darren Till. I like that Darren Till has left Team Kalbon to go and train with Hamzat Chimaev, because that means that the gym of Team Kalbon can now focus all of their attention on Tom Aspinall. And I just think Tom Aspinall's going to look the best he's ever looked as well. He's getting more and more experience every time. It's not like he's taken any damage, so he's always going to be making improvements. He's gaining more experience. He's only recently got a nutritionist in his last 2 fights, so I feel like we haven't even seen him in peak shape yet, like we have with a lot of other heavyweights. I mean, Tom Aspinall, I just said this on a YouTube video in a comment, he looked like a fat, chubby cunt in his debut against Jake Collier. Didn't look in great shape whatsoever. He beat him in the first round immediately, but still, didn't look in great shape against Alan Badeau either. Didn't look in great shape there. Then you started to see him trim it down a little bit, look in better shape for the Arlovsky fight. And then against Sergey Spivak, he looked like he was more in the best shape he's ever been in. So I feel like now we're going to see him in the best shape, the most experience, and I think he's going to plant a 1-2 straight on Volkov's chin and finish him off. That's what I'm hoping for anyway, because we need some new blood in the heavyweight division. Arguably, we don't, though. Because right now there's a massive logjam, because I know everyone wants Ngannou as champ, but he's going to be a cunt of a champ to deal with, because he's off for 9 months and he waited 2 months of parading around Cameroon in order to get that surgery. And people online are of course supporting this because it leads to the demise of the UFC, which people weirdly want. Even though they watch it every weekend and complain about how bad the cards are. People really want the UFC to be punished by Ngannou as champ and have Ngannou ruin the status of the heavyweight division in the UFC. It's very strange, the double standards that people are having on Instagram right now. They watch the UFC every weekend, but they support Ngannou being out until the end of next year. I know he fought injured, but waiting 2 months for a fucking surgery is a real piss take. So, arguably, for the status of the heavyweight division, you'd want Volkov to win to slow things down and not have another surging contender that's rightfully earned a title shot anytime soon. But I feel like Tom Aspinall's going to win this one. Flatten Volkov in the first round. Volkov doesn't move his head too much. He's a little bit of a Dan Hooker of the heavyweight division. I think that's a perfect analogy for him. Very rangy, front heaps to the body, straight shots, couple of hooks here and there when he finds his moments for them. And I feel like he just doesn't move his head too much, just like Dan Hooker as well. And that's going to lead to a first round KO from Aspinall. Really looking forward to it. The winner of this one, I guess, is looking at maybe Cyril Gane, but I doubt that. I think, wait, what's going on though? What the fuck is Jones even fighting at heavyweight? Because Jones now can't fight Ngannou, so if Jones fights Gane, I guess he could earn a title shot. But they're doing Tuivasa versus Stipe, so I guess that's something that they're going to do as well. So I guess the winner of this one, if it's Aspinall, is going to fight Cyril Gane next. But Cyril Gane might want to match up soon. So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't see Cyril Gane wanting to wait 5 months after this before he's back in the cage again. Very interesting situation that we've been left with right now. But I get it. Ngannou had to parade around Cameroon for 2 months before he had his surgery. That just needed to happen. Best way of doing it when you need surgery desperately. Parade around and have a bunch of parades. But either way, looking forward to this one. It's either the winner of Tybura versus Rosenstruik for the winner of this, or if it's Tom Aspinall in devastating fashion and he wants a quick turnaround, the UFC's going to France soon. So I could see an example where maybe Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall, UFC Fight Night Paris, at the end of this year, or in July, or August, or September, somewhere in the summer of this year. Mainly because Tom Aspinall's from England, so it's only a train to France. I know that sounds weird for Americans listening to this, but we have underwater trains just between the English Channel and France, and some of the other European countries that are close by as well, like Belgium and the Netherlands and stuff. But either way, I reckon they'll do a UFC Fight Night Paris if Tom Aspinall wins. Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. The storyline's all there as well, because Tom Aspinall has beaten many of Cyril Gane's teammates in the past, including Alan Badeau, and also some guys on the regional scene at Cage Warriors that Cyril Gane was teammates of as well, over at MMA Factory in France. So I think it's a good storyline. England versus France. It always sells. There's going to be some historical promotion made about that as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Well, I'm not looking forward... hang on. He has to get through Volkov first. Looking forward to this weekend, though. Get through Volkov first. Volkov's very dangerous. Normally, I would like him to do some stuff in the later rounds, but Aspinall has not really shown signs of gassing out yet. And also, he's had a longer preparation than Volkov. Let's just get through Volkov. Very dangerous test at heavyweight, but I still think he's going to get it done in flawless fashion in the first round. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. And plus, Tom Aspinall also has the wrestling to fall back on, which we didn't really know about before the Arlovski fight. So it's good to see that he has that in his back pocket if things do get a bit tricky on the feet. So yeah, just chuck that in as well. Toodle pip.